The note sat on my kitchen counter like a silent bomb, waiting to explode. My eyes scanned the words over and over again, my hands trembling as I gripped the paper. The message was short, cruel, and written in David's familiar, sloppy handwriting on the back of our latest electric bill. I'm done with you and your boring life. I'm taking everything, and this house is sold. By the way, enjoy what's left. It felt like a slap across the face. A rush of emotions crashed over me, shock, anger, disbelief, but strangely, underneath it all, there was something else, a deep, unexpected sense of calm. I took a slow breath and reached for my phone. My fingers moved steadily as I typed a simple response. Saw your note, thanks for the heads up. My name is Nina Parker, I'm 36 years old, and for the past 12 years, I was married to a man I thought I knew. David and I built a life together, or at least that's what I believed. While he worked his corporate job, I poured my heart into creating a business of my own, an online shop selling handcrafted jewelry. It started small, but over time, it flourished. David, however, never took it seriously. He'd roll his eyes whenever I talked about a big sale or a new design idea. That little hobby of yours, he'd say dismissively, barely looking up from his phone. Maybe I should have seen this coming. Maybe I should have paid closer attention to the late nights at his office, the hushed phone calls, the way he quickly shut his laptop whenever I walked into the room. But here's the thing, David wasn't as clever as he thought, and I wasn't as naive as he believed. 6 months ago, while paying bills, I noticed something odd, large amounts of money disappearing from our joint account into an account I didn't recognize. When I casually asked David about it, he barely blinked. Business investments, he said, waving it off like I was an annoying child asking too many questions. That was the moment I knew I had to protect myself. So I did, silently, carefully. I started preparing. I took note of every suspicious transaction, every late night, every lie. I started moving my personal savings into a separate bank account under my name. I spoke to Sarah, my best friend and, conveniently, a sharp divorce attorney. She guided me, showed me my options, and made sure I was ready. And the best part, during our recent home renovation, I had the house refinanced in my name alone. David, too distracted by whatever secret life he was leading, never even noticed. Now, standing in the middle of my kitchen, no, my home, I let the note slip from my fingers onto the counter. I expected heartbreak. I expected to feel broken, lost, devastated, but instead, a strange sense of freedom filled me. A smile tugged at my lips. David thought this note would destroy me, that I would crumble and beg for him to stay, but he was wrong. I smoothed down my blouse, pulled out my laptop, and opened my email. It was time to set things in motion. David wanted to play dirty, fine. But he was about to learn that I had been playing this game a lot longer than he realized. I noticed it, the tears of frustration welling up in my eyes, the sting of defeat weighing down my chest. Everything he had planned, every scheme he had carefully crafted, was crumbling before him. I could see it in his face, in the way his shoulders slumped, and in the way he couldn't even meet my gaze. I never thought, he began, his voice uncertain. That's right, I interrupted, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. You never thought I would stand up for myself. You never thought I would be smart enough to protect myself. You never thought I would be strong enough to walk away. That's why you left a note instead of facing me, instead of having a real conversation, because you never really knew me at all. He didn't say another word, he simply turned and walked toward his car, his pace slow, almost reluctant, as I watched him disappear down the driveway. Sarah, my lawyer and now a dear friend, squeezed my hand gently. You did good, Nina, really good. She had been more than just my attorney through all of this. She had been my rock, my anchor in the storm, helping me find strength I hadn't known I possessed. When David's car finally disappeared around the corner, I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. The weight on my shoulders felt lighter. No more sneaking around, no more checking bank statements in secret, no more documenting his lies, no more pretending to be the docile, agreeable wife. I was free. In the days and weeks that followed, I poured my energy into rebuilding my life. My jewelry business, the one David had mocked and belittled for years, became my sanctuary. Orders flooded in, and for the first time, I expanded without hesitation, without the condescending remarks about wasting money on new tools or materials. Sarah kept me updated on the legal battle, Though I didn't need to worry, we had documented everything, every missing dollar, every suspicious transaction, every lie. The judge had taken particular interest in David's so-called business investments, which were, in reality, gambling losses in Vegas and secret accounts meant to hide money from me. The house, my house, the beautiful craftsman-style home I had painstakingly renovated, remained mine. Slowly, I erased all traces of David from its walls. I painted the living room a deep, rich blue, the color he had always vetoed. I converted his old office into my jewelry studio, and I finally bought the antique workbench I had dreamed of owning for years. Each change felt like reclaiming a piece of myself, like breathing new life into the home that had once felt like a cage. My sister, Janet, visited often, helping me sort through the remnants of a life I had once shared with a man who never truly valued me. "Remember how he used to mock your little hobby at family gatherings?" she said one evening as we flipped through old photographs. "Now look at you. Your business is in 3 major magazines, and he's struggling in a tiny one-bedroom apartment." She was right. My business was thriving in ways I had only dreamed of before. I had hired 2 assistants to help with orders, and a major department store had just picked up my newest collection. The irony wasn't lost on me. Everything David had ridiculed was now sustaining me, while his smart investments had left him nearly bankrupt. My friends rallied around me in ways I had never expected. Sarah, always by my side, spent countless evenings with me, sharing wine and reminding me of my worth. "You're not just surviving," she told me one night, "you're flourishing." She was right. For the first time in years, I felt confident, I felt strong, I felt like me. The divorce proceedings revealed more of David's deceptions than I had even uncovered myself. The bank's investigation proved that he had been gambling away large sums of money for years, hiding his losses, hoping to replenish them by selling our house behind my back. But when that plan fell apart, everything else did too. One morning, I received an email from Marcus, the real estate agent David had tried to conspire with. He apologized for his involvement in the house debacle and, surprisingly, asked if I would help his wife pick out jewelry for their anniversary. I smiled at the irony. My little hobby had gained the respect of people who once dismissed it. But the hardest part of all of this wasn't the legal fight or even the loneliness. It was confronting just how much of myself I had buried to maintain the illusion of a happy marriage. I had dimmed my light, shrunk my dreams, doubted my instincts, all to keep a man who had never truly seen me. 6 months after discovering David's note, I attended a local business gala. I almost didn't go, but Sarah insisted. "It's time to rejoin the world," she said. So I put on a black dress that David would have called too flashy, and adorned myself in pieces from my latest collection. When I caught sight of my reflection in a mirror at the venue, I barely recognized myself. Gone was the hesitant woman who had second-guessed every decision. In her place stood someone confident, someone who knew her worth. That night, I met James, a widowed artisan who crafted custom wooden jewelry boxes. We talked for hours, sharing stories of craftsmanship and creativity. Unlike David, James never once called my work cute or dismissed it as a mere hobby. He asked real questions, showed genuine interest. It wasn't romance, not yet, but it was a reminder that there were men in the world who saw women as equals, not accessories. David tried to contact me a few times, especially after the court ordered him to repay the money he had taken. His messages swung between anger and pleading, but they no longer affected me. The last time he reached out, he apologized, not for the lies, not for the betrayal, but for not appreciating what we had. I didn't respond. Some chapters are better left closed. My business continued to thrive. I expanded into teaching jewelry making workshops, something David had once scoffed at. To my surprise, the classes filled up immediately. Many of the women who attended had stories like mine, dreams dismissed, talents overlooked, potential stifled. The house David had tried to sell out from under me became a sanctuary not just for me, but for others. I hosted gatherings for local female entrepreneurs, turning my home into a space where women could celebrate their successes and share their challenges. The rooms that had once echoed with David's dismissive words now rang with laughter and encouragement. Looking back, I realized that David's note had not been the ending he intended, it had been the beginning I needed. The woman who had stood trembling in the kitchen that morning, clutching that cruel letter, could never have imagined how strong she would become. Yesterday, a young woman in one of my workshops asked me if I ever regretted how things ended. I smiled and held up the silver ring I had made for myself after the divorce was finalized. Inside, I had engraved 3 simple words: trust your strength. Because that's what this journey had taught me: we are all stronger than we know. Sometimes, it just takes a cruel note on a kitchen counter to help us discover it.